Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session tonight. So, we're back with a new session of revision for the upcoming Kerala set exam. Are you all ready? Yes. For some more revision with some new questions? Yes. All right. Chalo, let's get started then. Let me share my screen with you all. Yes, we are live. The screen is visible to you now, I guess. Yeah, yes, it is visible. So welcome again to our 12th session of Kerala Set Revision. Yesterday we had an amazing session on criticism and theory. So tonight also I thought let's revise a bit more of literary criticism and theory. Right? Are you all ready? Yes? So now let's move on to the first question for tonight. But before that, please do like the session once. Okay? Chalo. So here's your first question. Right. Who coined the term anxiety of influence to describe how younger poets struggle against the overwhelming literary authority of their poetic precursors? A very well-known concept in theory. So who talked about the concept of anxiety of influence? Tell me. Easy question, easy question. Good evening, good evening. Yes, welcome. Correct. Very good. So it was Harold Bloom. Harold Bloom had coined the term anxiety of influence to describe how younger poets struggle against the overwhelming literary authority of their poetic precursors. Now we know that Harold Bloom belonged to a particular school of theory or criticism, right? It was which school? Tell me. Harold Bloom belonged to which school? Harold Bloom belonged to the Yale School of Criticism. Harold Bloom belonged to the Yale School of Criticism, right? Harold Bloom belonged to the Yale School of Criticism, correct? So, who were the other members of Yale School of Criticism? Who were the other members of the Yale School of Criticism? Paul de Man, Geoffrey Hartman, J. Hillis Miller, Shoshana Feldman, Barbara Johnson. All of them were major members of the Yale School of Criticism, and all of them were inspired by Derrida. The Yale School of Criticism was inspired by the principles of deconstruction of Derrida. Clear? So, will you remember? The Yale School of Criticism was a prominent group of literary theorists and deconstructionists at Yale University during late 60s through 80s. And its core members included Paul de Man, Geoffrey Hartman, J. Hillis Miller, Harold Bloom, Shoshana Feldman, Barbara Johnson, and we can say it was spearheaded by Derrida. It was spearheaded by Derrida. And it was Harold Bloom who coined the term anxiety of influence. Anxiety of influence. Okay, got it? Very good. Next question. Stephen Greenblatt and Louis Montrose are key figures in which critical movement that emphasizes the embeddedness of literature within history and power networks? Tell me. Stephen Greenblatt and Louis Montrose. They're key figures in New Historicism. It was a critical movement that emphasizes the embeddedness of literature within history and power networks. So Stephen Greenblatt and Louis Montrose are figures from New Historicism. Okay, now tell me, who are the major figures of New Criticism? Who are the major figures of New Criticism? J.C. Ransom, Cleanth Brooks, Robert Penn Warren, Alan Tate, Wimsatt and Beardsley, right? They're the core American new critiques. J.C. Ransom, Cleanth Brooks, Robert Penn Warren, Alan Tate, and Wimsatt and Beardsley, right? Next, tell me, who are the major members of reader response criticism? Who are the major members of reader response criticism? Tell me. Yes. Stanley Fish, Wolfgang Iser, Louis Rosenblatt, Norman Holland, Hans Robert Joss. All right. Stanley Fish, Wolfgang Iser, Louis Rosenblatt, Norman Holland, Hans Robert Joss. All of them are major figures in reader response criticism. Reader response criticism. Okay, very good. Next. Homi K. Bhabha's concept of mimicry in postcolonial theory describes the ambivalent condition where the colonial subject is commanded to copy the colonizer, resulting in a presence that is dash. So, what is the consequence of mimicry in postcolonial theory? What is the consequence or result of mimicry? Where the colonized people are forced to copy their colonial masters. What is the consequence of that? I think my I think my Zoom went into save driving mode somehow. Can you guys hear me? Hey yo, what happened? Suddenly my Zoom went into save driving mode. I don't know how. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, all right. I think it's going okay now. Okay, okay. Oh, because suddenly my Zoom showed me that it's in safe driving mode and my mic has been muted and that my video has been stopped. So I was a bit worried. Okay, okay, all right. Oh, right. So here the result is almost the same, but not quite. Not quite. Correct. Option B is the answer. Option B is the answer. Next. In feminist film theory, Laura Mulvey famously argued that traditional narrative cinema structurally positions the female form as an object of visual pleasure for the male gaze. What is that essay of Laura Mulvey where this is discussed? Tell me. It is visual pleasure and narrative cinema. Visual pleasure and narrative cinema. All right? Clear? Right. Okay. Next. Which Marxist critique introduced the concept of hegemony to describe how ruling class ideology maintains control not through direct force but through cultural and institutional consent? So tell me, who talked about hegemony? Who talked about hegemony? It was Antonio Gramsci. Antonio Gramsci discussed the concept of hegemony in prison notebooks. Prison notebooks. Right? Yes? Correct. Okay. Next. Ferdinand de Saugier's structural linguistics distinguishes between langue and parole. What do you mean by langue? What do you mean by langue? What do you mean by langue? In Saugerian linguistics, langue is what? Langue is the abstract systematic rules and structure of a language shared by a community. It is the abstract systematic rules and structure of language shared by a community. And parole is the individual use of it. Parole is the individual use of it. Like, suppose I'm a Bengali. So the entire structure of the language of Bengali is langue. And within West Bengal, you will see almost every other person speaks Bengali in a different way, different style. So that is parole. Parole is the individual use of that langue. Langue is the abstract system of language. And parole is the individual use of that. How I am using that langue, that's parole. All right? Yes. Next. So yes, as you all know already, and many of you have already enrolled with us and studying so wonderfully. That's beautiful. So Vallath is presenting to you UGC NET mentorship. So it's a one-to-one mentorship program where if you come to us, you will be given a mentor who will be there to help you 24/7. And in this mentorship structure, you will get 12 sessions. And in these 12 sessions, through these 12 sessions, your mentor will give you a structured routine to follow, a mentor who will be available to you 24/7. Your mentor will make you practice comprehensions and PYQs and everything. You will be provided with focused materials, lots of practice, and obviously your doubts and queries will be resolved at every step. Okay, so it's a fantastic 1:1 program which caters to your individual needs, demands, and gives you that individual and extra care so that you go and crack that exam of NET. Okay, so if you want, you can join us. All right, next. In North of Fry's Anatomy of Criticism, which mythos or narrative category does he align with the seasonal phase of winter? Oh, answer to de diya. It's okay. Tell me, winter has been associated with which genre? Winter is with irony or satire. Irony or satire. Okay. Spring is with comedy. Summer is with romance. Autumn is with tragedy. And winter is with irony and satire. Please remember this, it's very important. Okay, spring, comedy. Summer, romance. Autumn, tragedy. Winter is irony and satire. Will you remember this? Spring, comedy. Summer is romance. Autumn, tragedy. And winter is irony and satire. Clear? Will you remember this? Yes. Okay. Next. T.S. Eliot's concept of the dissociation of sensibility, that is the historical split between thought and feeling, was located by Eliot as having set in after the generation of which poets? Say easy. T.S. Eliot's concept of the dissociation of sensibility, which refers to the historical split between thought and feeling, was located by Eliot as having set in after the generation of John Donne and Lord Harbert of Sherbury. Option C, John Donne and Lord Harbert of Sherbury. Because Donne was a prime example of unification of sensibility. And after him, there was dissociation of sensibility. And this was discussed in his essay, The Metaphysical Poets. This concept was discussed in T.S. Eliot's essay, The Metaphysical Poets. The Metaphysical Poets. Okay? Right. Longinus identifies 5 genuine sources of sublimity in his treatise called On the Sublime. Which of the following is not one of the internal or innate sources of sublimity according to Longinus? So, On the Sublime, it's a treatise on aesthetics by Longinus, a Roman classicist philosopher. There he has charted out 5 sources of sublimity. Among them, some are innate and some are acquired. So here, which one is not one of the internal or innate sources of sublimity? It is mechanical versification. Mechanical versification. Okay, right. Correct. Next. Julia Kristeva's concept of Cora. It relates to the pre-Oedipal maternal space associated with which realm? It is the semiotic. It is the semiotic. There's a typo in the question. That's why the semiotic was mentioned there. But please remember that Julia Kristeva's concept of Cora. It's a fluid-like space. And it refers to the pre-Oedipal maternal space, which is associated with the semiotic realm, a realm which is fluid, a realm which is fluid. Okay? Semiotic realm. Correct. Okay. All right. So that's all for tonight from our side. I really hope you guys loved the session and enjoyed answering these questions. Tomorrow there will be paper 1 session and I will be back again on Friday at 9:30 p.m. Till then, please take care, keep studying, okay? And do join UGC NET mentorship if you want. Okay? Chalo. Bye then.